Mangwana ni malelepo fukenjani xexwa sivana ve-Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show that remains your portal into Africa's potent stories. In today's broadcast, we'll be talking about the launch of the Creative Sport and Tourism Expo in Namibia. That will be a little later in the show. However, these are some of the top stories from broader Africa. Ghana prepares UN resolution calling slavery the gravest crime and seeking reparations. Eritrean cartoonist Biniam Solomon freed after 15 years detained without a charge. Man arrested in Nairobi airport attempting to smuggle thousands of live ants. Uganda announces visa-free entry for 40 countries while excluding the US and EU. Kenya and Rwanda central banks launch cross-border payment access, and this is for fintechs. DSTV 285, GoTV 25, oneup2.com, Network Media Hub, as well as NTV Africa on YouTube and ntvafrica.my.na are precisely where you can always watch the show. We'll be getting into your top stories shortly. My name is Ashwin Berry.
This week's decisions, today's debates, tomorrow's consequences. The agenda puts the spotlight on Namibia's most pressing issues and the people driving them. From headline makers to groundbreakers, we bring you voices and perspectives at the center of the national conversation. One story, one interview, the depth you'll not find anywhere else. That is the agenda. Join us every weekday evening for the Evening Review as we unpack the issues shaping Namibia. From politics and economics to culture and community life, our team delivers sharp analysis, expert insights, and conversations with Namibians across society. It's not just the headlines, it's the full picture. Stay informed and engaged with the Evening Review.
All right, it's time for us to get into the top stories. Ghana is preparing to submit a resolution to the United Nations General Assembly recognizing the transatlantic slave trade as the gravest crime in the history of humankind and calling for reparations despite opposition from some European leaders. The proposal is expected to be tabled by the West African nation possibly as early as this month, according to a statement from Ghana's foreign ministry to Reuters. Ghana has been a prominent advocate of reparations on the continent and hopes the initiative will receive support from many United Nations member states. Here is the president of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, speaking on the matter.
We must speak with one voice until every African object that's unjustly held abroad is returned, not merely to a location but to a people, returned to a living culture, returned to its rightful spiritual and historical origin. In line with this continental momentum, I reiterate the announcement I made during the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly last September. Ghana has initiated the process to table a resolution at the UN General Assembly in March this year, seeking global recognition of the transatlantic slave trade as one of the gravest crimes against humanity. This is not symbolic diplomacy, it's a necessary moral clarification of history. I urge the forthcoming 39th Assembly of the AU to lend full and unflinching support to this historic resolution. A zero draft of the proposed resolution will soon be circulated to all member states for consultation and coordinated advocacy. The evidence is compelling, the legal foundations are firm, the moral imperative is undeniable. And so let Addis Ababa 2026 mark a turning point. Let it be said that in 2026 in Addis Ababa, Africa chose to honor its past and to define its future. Let it be said that we transformed memory into policy, that we converted the grievances of our past into a collective strategy, and that we turned our history into sovereign action. Let us not defer justice. Let us not postpone dignity. Let us act, and let us act together.
Moving on. Eritrean satirical cartoonist Biniam Solomon has been freed after spending 15 years in detention without charge, according to his family and friends who spoke to the BBC. Solomon, now in his early 60s, was arrested in Asmara in 2011 but never tried, and the reasons for his continued imprisonment were not made clear. Known by his pen name Cobra, he became recognized for critical and witty cartoons that tackled political and social issues. During his 15 years in detention, he had no contact with his family and received only occasional medical treatment. A relative said he spent the latter part of his imprisonment at Asmara's crime investigation prison, which is widely reported to hold political and conscientious objectors under harsh conditions. Despite losing an arm in childhood, Solomon pursued a career as an artist and also worked as a physics teacher at a secondary school in Asmara. Now, Kenyan authorities have arrested a man attempting to smuggle more than 2,000 ants out of the country through Nairobi's main airport. Chinese national Hage Geingob, aged 27, was detained at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport while trying to leave the country, according to court filings seen by Reuters. Immigration officials had already placed a stop order on Zhang's passport after he evaded arrest in Kenya last year. Investigators who searched his luggage recovered 2,238 ants, including 1,948 packed inside test tubes, while the rest were hidden in 3 rolls of soft tissue papers. Authorities said Zhang had been in Kenya for 2 weeks and mentioned 3 accomplices who supplied him with the ants. The Kenya Wildlife Service told the court it required more time to complete investigations, including examining an iPhone and a MacBook recovered from Zhang. Uganda has announced visa-free entry for up to 40 countries while excluding the United States and European Union nations from the new policy. Under the measure, travelers from the selected countries will no longer need to obtain a visa before traveling to Uganda and may stay up to 3 months for tourism or business purposes, according to the government. African countries granted visa-free access include Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Uganda, Burundi, South Sudan, Seychelles, Mauritius, Mozambique, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Botswana, Lesotho, Madagascar, Comoros, Eritrea, Gambia, Sierra Leone, Ghana, and Eswatini. Non-African countries on the list include Ireland, Jamaica, Antigua and Barbuda, Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, Cyprus, Fiji, Grenada, Malaysia, Malta, Singapore, Solomon Islands, St. Vincent and Grenadines, Tonga and Trinidad and Tobago, United Arab Emirates, amongst others. In the last of our top stories, Kenya and Rwanda's central banks have launched an initiative enabling cross-border payment access for fintechs, allowing them to operate across both markets. The Central Bank of Kenya and the National Bank of Rwanda signed a memorandum of understanding establishing a licensed passporting framework for payment service providers. The arrangement allows providers licensed in one country to operate in the other without duplicating regulatory approvals, creating a mutually recognized cross-border payments environment. According to the Central Bank of Kenya, the framework addresses challenges created by duplicative regulatory processes, despite similarities in requirements between the two systems. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. After the break, we're going to be heading into Namibia's news videos of the week. Stay with us. In a world where politicians promise the moon and deliver potholes, where democracy sometimes arrives in camouflage and ballots often look like formalities, one show dares to laugh with Africa, at Africa, and sometimes for Africa. This is Second Take, your weekly dose of political satire with an African soul and a global edge. From coups disguised as press briefings to ministers moonwalking past accountability, we serve the real news with sharper writing. Each week we bring you the TikTok of the week because sometimes the revolution is vertical, and the heartwarming moment of the week to remind us that not everything is burning. We also sit down with the bold, the brilliant, and the brave, voices that question power, stir thought, and spark laughter. Because when the headlines are wild, the leaders are louder, and the truth is lost in translation, we all need a second take. Now, in Namibia's news videos of the week, Speaker of the National Assembly, Sarah Kuongelwa Amadila, paid an official visit to Windhoek Central Hospital as part of her parliamentary outreach program. Amadila toured the Children's Cardiac Intensive Care Unit located on the first floor and also the clinic day activities on the ground floor where various medical services are delivered to children and their families. During a visit to Windhoek Central Hospital, Speaker of the National Assembly gave donations including an iPad for child education, development, and also storybooks as part of her parliamentary outreach. This video is by Desmarius Hansen.
That and otherwise it's just small gifts for the children and the parents. Just a token that we see they are here and we care.
Plus a box of toiletries.
Yes, that's the box of toiletries that I'm talking about, to support them, to take care of their little ones while they are here. And really, I just want to emphasize the need for especially the private sector, but also corporate, I mean individuals, to continue to give whatever little that they can. It does make a difference.
Thank you so much. That's very
and I'm happy to hear. I'm grateful. The doctor here, the technician, don't mind us. Let us not disturb you. You know, I'm appreciative of the goodwill that exists internationally for healthcare to work together to make sure that mankind is saved. You know, with the healthcare services wherever they find themselves. Because when we do that, we don't only save people.
Now, the Electricity Control Board CEO, Mr. Robert Kahimise, says strict KPIs will guide Namibia's electricity industry to cut costs and better respond to national demand. Speaking at the ECB Integrated Strategic Business Plan launch and office inauguration in Windhoek, he said there are opportunities to improve supply, including cheap stranded power in Angola, which Nampower is working to unlock. Kahimise added that any new power brought on board must come in below the cost of average imports to ensure affordability and security supply. This video is by Network Media Hub journalist Philippus Joseph.
KPIs. Before you even apply, just we will give you models, do your numbers, cut what you are supposed to cut. Because the indicators will force you to cut. So that's where we are somehow directing the industry so that it can respond to the needs and the demands of the Namibian nation. So don't expect the usual, otherwise we are not doing our work. Security of supply, there are very good opportunities. There's cheap stranded power in Angola, if we can unlock it, why not? Nampower is working on it. We have our own implementation of the NIRP, baseload, and so forth. Whatever has to come on board has to come below the cost of average imports so that we can achieve both security of supply as well as affordability.
Before we get into clips from the Budget Dialogue 2026, which featured global entrepreneur Vusi Thembekwayo, as well as the launch of the Creative Sport and Tourism Expo, let's have a look at the economic indicators. Now, during the Namibia Budget Dialogue 2026 held this week in Windhoek, brought to you by Standard Bank as well as Emerald Sand Platforms, Business 7, Market Watch, and of course NTV, global entrepreneur and leadership strategist Vusi Thembekwayo was part of a panel discussion, but he also gave his own speech. And in a part of that speech, he spoke about how Africa is lagging behind with regards to AI, and he considers this another issue with regards to Africa tracking back, or rather not being at pace with the world as the industrial revolutions unfold. Have a look.
One of my honest concerns is that Africa is absent in the conversation about AI. And so if you think about it, Madam Minister, when the first industrial revolution took place, starting first in that place called Birmingham in the United Kingdom, we were absent there. Our continent was extracted of its resources that were beneficiated elsewhere, and the rest of the world was electrified first, and we followed on the trailing average on the statistical Gaussian model. That was on the first industrial revolution. When the second industrial revolution came along, we spoke about it, we met about it, we had conferences about it, but the truth is, we were absent there too. And so, as the third and fourth ones are coming along, my concern is we will do what Africans do. We will call meetings, we will have symposia, we will discuss, we will publish position papers, but we will not take the capital risk required to make sure that we are a participant. Here is, if I may be so bold, and it'll be my parting statement, what I think is the opportunity set here. These incredible resources that, by the way, let it be clear, none of us in this room have earned. This is the beauty about natural resources of a country. These are resources that God saw fit to endow your nation state with. In fact, He endowed them with your nation state before you were a nation state. They predate the formation of your country. But once you have discovered these resources, the question then becomes, how do you use them to better the lives of the average person? Not only the average person in Ondangwa, not only the average person in Oshevelo, but also the average person in the dusty streets, as you said, Mr. Ceremonies, of Katatura. How does it make a difference in their lives? And amongst the ways we need to do this is to ensure, owing, of course, to our colonial past, both Nam and South Africa, we love the institutional rigor of what it takes to run our economies. We are fantastic at compliance. In my mind, if you ask me frankly, we are over-regulated, over-complied, under-innovated.
Now, just yesterday was the launch of CST, the Creative Sport and Tourism Expo, set to take place between the 2nd and the 4th of September. As you can see on the text just below me, these three industries are being brought together in order to showcase not just what Namibia has, but Namibia's potential, as well as reaching out across borders to make sure that in the region we are as integrated as possible. Speaking at the launch was Minister of Information, Communication and Technology, Emma Theophilus.
Hospitality brands, sports federations, athletes, creative entrepreneurs, production houses, investors, and policymakers such as myself under one roof. This is exactly the kind of collaboration required to unlock new opportunities and build industries that are resilient, innovative, and of course, inclusive. Through exhibitions, activations, curated discussions, and commercial networking, the CST Expo will help introduce new tourism products, stimulate partnerships, and unlock sustainable revenue models across multiple sectors that should have been under one roof. It will allow our tourism industry to diversify and move beyond traditional models, embracing experience-led tourism that speaks to modern global travelers. As the ministry responsible for ICT in the country, we also recognize the crucial role of digital platforms, storytelling, and media in shaping Namibia's international image. The creative industries including film, digital media, music, live performance, and content production have the power to turn Namibia's landscapes into global stages. Imagine desert marathons broadcasted worldwide, adventure sports competitions along our coastlines, cultural festivals that celebrate Namibian heritage and creativity, documentaries and digital campaigns that inspire travelers to experience Namibia firsthand. These are not just ideas, these are economic opportunities. The objectives of this Creative Sports Tourism Expo are aligned with Namibia's broader national development priorities. This platform aims to diversify Namibia's tourism economy by integrating the creative and sports industries into the tourism value chain, stimulate economic growth by creating a commercial meeting ground for partnerships, investments, and innovation, support youth development and job creation through new opportunities in sports, media, entertainment, and experimental tourism. Strengthen Namibia's global destination brand by positioning the country as a hub for adventure, performance, culture, and travel. And importantly, to establish a scalable long-term platform capable of generating recurring economic impact across multiple sectors. When we have many Brand Namibia discussions, we talk about how there is no really a country that can be likened to ours. We have landscapes in almost all their types in one country. But beyond that, we have the space to accommodate anything that comes our way. Also, when it comes to sport, I can't remember the source of this, Margaret, but you would know. As Namibians, we have the highest percentage of success in most of the sports codes recognized at the Olympics. We do above average when it comes to sports codes all over the world for a country of only 3 million people. We have a special offering as the Republic of Namibia. So, ladies and gentlemen, this vision is particularly important for our young people. Namibia has a talented, energetic, and creative youth population. Many young Namibians are already building careers in sports, digital media, creative production, and event management. Platforms such as CST create pathways for them to transform their passion into sustainable livelihoods. When we invest in platforms like this, we're not only building an industry or industries, we are building opportunities for the next generation. Ladies and gentlemen, this vision also resonates strongly with our national development priorities articulated in our Supper Party Manifesto and, of course, our National Development Plan number 6, which both recognize tourism, sports, and the creative industries as powerful drivers of economic diversification, youth empowerment, and inclusive growth.
So, CST is officially here. Make sure you join us at the Creative Sport and Tourism Expo from 2 to 4 September at the iconic Dr. Hage Geingob Stadium. That has been Africa Good Morning, not just for today, but for the week. Thank you for joining us on DSTV 285, GoTV 25, oneup2.com, Network Media Hub, as well as NTV Africa and ntvafrica.my.na. We'll return next week on Monday with Mike Sichula delivering the Zambia Reporter, amongst other top stories from across the continent. But for now, let's have a wonderful weekend. Swadash Zaganaka.